Moral of the story is, I chose a half measure when I should have gone all the way.
Greetings, fellow mortals. Just a reminder saying it's just my opinion is for cowards. Oh, and I'm gonna spoil everything in Arcane Season 2 episodes 1 through 3, so you have been warned. The single biggest strength of Arcane Season 2 so far is the fact that they don't need to establish anyone or anything anymore. This world, this plot, and these characters are all set up, so all the writers had to do was not mess it up. And they met my expectations with a solid home run. Perhaps not a grand slam, but what you gonna do? It's the first 3 episodes. It's part 1 of 3. It's not a complete story, so I can't completely judge it yet. But we should celebrate that they didn't immediately face plant into the concrete out of the starting gate after what was probably one of the best first seasons of any television show I have ever seen. I even say this after watching The Penguin.
We knew you could do it!
Sorry, not sorry that I was a little skeptical for Season 2. After all, Arcane Season 1 kind of came out of nowhere. Who would have expected that an adaptation of League of Legends of all things would actually be amazing? But here we are going from The Penguin to Arcane Season 2, and boy do I feel spoiled right now. The plot of Season 2 begins immediately after the conclusion of Season 1, with the Jinx firing a rocket at all of the city councilors, flatlining about half of the politicians and gravely wounding a quarter of them. Meanwhile, Jace and Mel walk out of it completely unscathed, as though a magical force is protecting the two of them. Really makes you think. And what follows is what you would expect after a major terrorist attack. A lot of mourning and a lot of fretting over the injured.
I am never going to financially recover from this.
And thankfully, Arcane is following the simple tactic of having their characters develop and make decisions based on their personalities and the situations around them. And for the most part, Arcane Season 2's plot involves characters making decisions and then other characters reacting to those choices with their own decisions. Caitlyn has morphed the grief for her mother into a vendetta against Jinx, which makes perfect sense considering everything that happened. And it also makes sense that she would recruit Vi into her task force to hunt down Jinx. Meanwhile, Jace is desperately trying to keep a gravely injured Victor alive while reeling from the consequences of dipping his fingers into the arcane. Mel is trying to understand the threat that her mother brought to the city, and meanwhile the entire underground is just in chaos from Silco's death. All of the underbosses are scrambling for power to take over for Silco, while Jinx is just floating around because she's not a big thinker. She doesn't have anyone to direct her personal brand of chaos anymore. And that's basically the entire plot of the first 3 episodes, the fallout from Season 1 and getting you ready for the rest of the show. A character reacts to something that happened in the world, they make a decision, and then another character has to react and make a choice based off of the previous character's decision. It's very basic storytelling, all the while having an evil looming threat in the arcane, which is a basic trope in all of fantasy.
Oh, it's so obvious! I would have never thought of that!
The overall plot isn't something that's going to blow your mind, but the important thing is that you care about everyone that's on screen. You understand them, you know them, in many cases you even like them even if you really shouldn't like them. Everything that happens feels like the next logical step from Season 1, but what really pushes it over the top is the presentation. The animation and art direction was so good that I had to pause and rewind different parts just so that I could look at everything again. Season 1 was beautiful, don't get me wrong, I thought it was gorgeous, but something about the art direction and the flow of Season 2 just puts it on an entirely different level. It's one of the most beautiful set of episodes I have ever seen. That and the music that went with it. It was a perfect cocktail. As soon as I took that first sip, I was like, oh my god, I'm addicted. I have rewatched every scene multiple times, and I have listened to the soundtrack on loop when I do my workouts. Even the new intro is absolutely gorgeous, and I love the symbolism and the foreshadowing within it. And the only downside being is that they kept the Imagine Dragon song. Why would you keep the Imagine Dragon song? Please, you could have done anything different.
This is the only flaw.
Besides that one music choice, the only single thing that I could complain about would be some minor issues with the pacing. To me, almost everything was perfect. Mel and her mother, Jace and Echo, Victor being Jesus or something, even the build-up with Caitlin, Vi, and the task force. Everything was perfect through the first couple of episodes, but then it kind of stumbled at the third episode with that aspect of it. What do you mean that you're going to dissolve the task force that was specifically designed to capture Jinx right before you catch up to Jinx? We've only seen you fail to catch Jinx once, and then a montage of you moving through the underground, which was beautiful, by the way. I loved that scene. Caitlin, what are you doing? Why are you sending your backup away? It would have made sense if Jinx set up an ambush and injured them and they were forced to retreat, but come on. And then Caitlin and Vi's relationship was established just for it to immediately fall apart. All I'm saying is that episode 3 probably needed about 10 more minutes. Yeah, I get it was probably a budget and time issue, but still.
Actually, I think it's worse than that. When you don't have money, your whole world falls apart.
Okay, the time for principal is over.
But those are the two smallest nitpicks that I could even think of because I absolutely adored these first 3 episodes. It was definitely worth the wait, and it put a lot of things in perspective, just like the Penguin. It made me reevaluate how I thought about things that I previously reviewed. In comparison to the Penguin, the Cape Crusader, not that great. In comparison to Arcane, House of the Dragon, not that great. Those other things aren't terrible, they're decent, but compared to top-level storytelling, it doesn't make them look that great. Arcane built up a war faster and better in 3 episodes than House of the Dragon did in 8 episodes, so there you go. And it followed through with the ideas of Season 1, mainly being that these half measures don't work. When characters flip-flopped on their decisions and didn't hold true to their ideals, terrible things happened. And if you do that long enough, a zealot with a lot more conviction and a lot more follow-through is going to ruin everything that you built up.
No more half measures, Walter.
Those first couple of episodes actually got me and my wife to have a friendly debate. She thought I was being a little bit too harsh with my criticisms of the characters. Not the writing, to be fair, the characters themselves and their mindsets, which are perfectly written. There's a difference. All I'm saying is there's a reason that Ambessa is getting what she wants and no one else is. Are her actions moral? No, of course not. But in games of politics, war, and crime, the person with the most conviction is going to win. And as someone who has no knowledge of League of Legends, I tried like 10 minutes of it and it sucked, and I refused to look things up because I didn't want spoilers. All I can say is I'm very interested in seeing where this goes. Things could still very well fall apart. Uzumaki has made me so paranoid when it comes to animated shows. I do not trust animation quality until all is said and done anymore. And after the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle show and the Tomb Raider show, I'm very skeptical of music too, because the music in those shows sucked epic donkey balls. And God only knows how many stories in 2024 alone started out pretty good, but then fell apart at the end.
So you get nothing! You lose! Good day, sir!
But while I'm always still skeptical, they started out this season strong, so I have hope. And if they do manage to pull it off, we'll go back to back from peak with the Penguin to peak with Arcane, which is a level of being spoiled that will never happen again because next year's probably going to suck. But what do you think? Did you like the first 3 episodes of Arcane? Did you hate them? Please leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And remember, if you disagree with everything I have to say, that is perfectly fine. After all, everyone is entitled to their objectively wrong opinion.
Well, let's not get our hopes up just yet.
Thank you all so much for watching.
Still here?
Good night, everybody.
Thank you. You bye. Boom.
Do not despair.